We used to have a live studio, a live audience. There were chairs, around here. I mean, it wasn't packed, but from time to time we had, mainly friends and family of the poet, and other people that, heard about it would come and sit. But when we went into this small studio, that we could no longer do that. But during the pandemic, we were doing everything virtually.
I was going to say, yeah, during the pandemic, you couldn't do that anyway.
And at times that created, it had its own problems from technology. Some people had interruptions, to their service while the program was going on. But all in all, it worked out pretty well.
Good. Okay. I think this is more intimate. Maybe, I think, a little more edgy if my mother were here, for example.
Donald, the fellow, the bald-headed fellow, we worked together. The big ball drops at Old Times Square. The crowd gathers to frolic. The church bell rings new hope, or at least new beginnings. The dove still flies for peace, carrying the urgent olive twig auspiciously in her beak. This messenger in flight spreads her sacred weight over temples of worship and killing fields, diplomatic halls and brothels, delivers respect with understanding to the starved in spirit. She witnessed the calamities that summons her voyage, but more than that, the dangers between factions and caste, genders and uniformed men. A community of tears. Despite her graceful and insistent pilgrimage, she sees rape, murder, torture, hunger, squalor, shame, replicated year after year. The dove still flies for peace, though mostly now flies home. Against Harsh Winds, a poem by our guest tonight, Carole Metellus, entitled Against Harsh Winds. So good evening, my name is Charles Carr, and welcome to Philly Loves Poetry, a collaboration between the Moonstone Arts Center of Philadelphia and PhillyCAM. And tonight I would like to say this is our 100th broadcast of Philly Loves Poetry, and it all started right here in this studio. The focus of our program as tonight, and it's always been, to give our listeners and our viewers the experience of the rich culture of poetry in the city of Philadelphia and the surrounding area. So we talk about rich culture. We have a wonderful, wonderful poet tonight, Carole Metellus. Carole is a Haitian-American writer. She's an activist, a performer, and a cultural worker who lives here in Philadelphia. Carole's poetry has appeared in Chariot on the Limp, a collection of Haitian-American poetry, in Affirming Flame, an anthology by progressive Texas poet in the aftermath of September 11th, and the Lambda Literary Review in Mother Tongues, a compilation addressing the theme of mother-child relations, in the Austin International Poetry Festival anthology, and in the 10th anniversary Poetry of Ink anthology, which is a part of Moonstone Arts Center each year. In her writing, Carole works to combat oppression in its numerous forms: world hunger, domestic violence, racism, sexism, homophobia, and child abuse, to name a few. Under the tutelage of acclaimed poet Sharon Bridgeforth, Carole has sought the dormant voices of her native people, summoning her to her pen's task. So welcome, Carole. It's wonderful to have you.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you.
I'd just like to start a discussion tonight by asking you, how did you come to see yourself in poetry?
You know, I've been writing poetry since I was very young, but just as an extracurricular event or just something to do. I think in my teen years, it became my close friend because adolescents always have things on their minds and on their chests and in their bodies and in their hearts that anguish and grieve them. And I would, place all of that on paper. But I just did that haphazardly, really. But it was not until I went I moved to Austin, Texas in the year 2000, and I met this wonderful poet, Sharon Bridgeforth, who had been, inviting people in the community to write poetry and partake in poetry, and I participated in many of her workshops then. I am enormously grateful to her, as I later was also enormously grateful to Dr. Omiosumo Lobo, aka Joni L. Jones, who then invited me to participate in the Austin Project, which was an event, which was essentially a workshop of academics, activists, and artists, and women from different backgrounds and different identities, to essentially pen the word. And we had close associations with the jazz aesthetic because it seemed to be the most inclusive. It seemed to be the invitation to be present as well. It shared a lot of the precepts of jazz: to be present, to be open, to share, to have community, to be spontaneous, to not so much look towards the perfection, but to be real and to be truthful. And as I was speaking with Dr. Jones last night, she reminded me of the work that was done there that emanated from the body, the idea of doing work akin with the jazz aesthetic. It's that emotions, joy, rage, anger, love, all of that reside in the body. And if we have the opportunity to put it onto paper, then we can share it with others, and in so doing, build community.
So, would you say this is really, your poetry is really a mirror of yourself in community, in the world?
I suppose yes. I suppose yes. I have to tell you, I think when I was younger, adolescent, it was probably a me situation. But by the time I was writing in Austin, it was really writing in service, and service specifically to give voice to the voiceless, to the marginalized, to those who cannot speak. And even most recently, I've also been intrigued by the silences that are inhabited by the places of power. The things that cannot be said because you belong to a particular group, and you cannot reach out to the other group, even though there's a connection there. So in the places of difficulty and compromise internally are places that I like to explore.
Mm-hmm. Would you say also, that your poetry is definitely a mirror of the world that you see? But I heard somebody, talk about, their poetry, and they said, it's a telescope or it's a microscope. Mm-hmm. And I like the latter, the microscope, because it's so fine and detailed. Mm-hmm. And I see some of that in your work, to say you get down to, that level of detail.
Yes. Although, I think I may have shared with you that I'm available. I've made myself an instrument for poetry to be written. I think, Lucille Clifton is the one who says, these were poems that needed to be written and I was available. Mm-hmm. And so very much following her school of thought, I am very much there. So I come to a place of service. Right. In doing that. So I like to be microscopic about the details and the lens that I place on paper. But I suppose if it's the telescope that comes to me or comes to mind or comes to be in front of me, I'm mandated to answer the call.
Yeah, you're a Haitian American. You're a hyphenated. Yes. And you're a part of what is character or term the diaspora. Yes. And so what is it like to be, and I use the word diasporized. Mm-hmm. I guess the good, the bad, and the ugly, that part. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've had and dealt with many what I call hyphenated poets. And sometimes it's really selective of what, they use that hyphen for, Yeah. For example, my heritage is all Irish, but nobody would call me Charles Carr, Irish-American poet. Uh-huh. I'm an American poet, although I'm very, very attached to my mother country of Ireland. Right. But for you, that is definitely, so can you talk about that diaspora experience in poetry?
I am on the hyphen all the time, and that's my identity. And I sit and I walk and I sing and I dance and I live and I cry on the hyphen. When I am in Haiti, all that which is American about me comes to the fore. When I'm here in the States, definitely the aspects of me that are Haitian come to the fore. So I don't struggle with it, I just accept it all. I was born in New York, American born. I was born in New York City. And then I was sent very quickly thereafter, at the age of 4 months, to live with my grandmother in Haiti and to be raised by her there. And my father's thinking was that he wanted me to learn French and Creole first and to have an appreciation for Haitian culture. And I'm enormously grateful for that. And so by the time I came to the US, I was full of with my Haitian accoutrements with me. And then so I endeavored to learn the ways of the Americans, and I've gotten a lot of possibilities and opportunities and open visions because of that reality. I embrace it all. I embrace it all. I can be very critical of both sides of my identity, and I'm fine for that. I'm well in that space.
Now today, with what is the current, I'll say, the existential predicament of people, hyphenated people, now in our country, and what's happening to them, whether they're Mexican American, Asian American, Haitian American, or whatever.
Yes.
How has that experience been for you? In looking at that as a possible threat to your identity? Oh,
because I think we're all in danger. In fact, every single one of us. This is a country of immigrants. This is not the natives to this country have mostly gone. There's still quite a presence there, but in terms of the numbers who are here indigenously, most of them have gone. And those of us who have had the privilege to come to be here to take up the space, we have another reference point. And because of that, all of us are in danger because of a mindset that would want to liquidate the terrain so that it is made better or richer for those who either are in power or those who want to occupy a lot more space.
Do you feel, or have you experienced people that have been part and categorized in the diaspora, the people who have left? Do you feel that there's this experience as, well, I want to leave that behind. I am now of this country, and that's the way I want to be identified. I mean, I'm just talking as an example. Somebody says, well, I'm a full citizen. My children are all, going to public or private schools. They're all being really introduced to what is American culture. And there's a kind of a walking away from, identity. I mean, I've seen a little bit of it, but I'm wondering what your perspective is on that.
So you're talking about those who've left Haiti or left whatever
Haiti,
the old country is, or
exactly.
specifically in my case, it would be Haiti. So I said to you that my father, after being born here, American born here, my father sent me to Haiti so that I would imbibe Haitian culture, imbibe language, imbibe the food, and all of that. And so that is not work that has gone for naught, and it still lives within me. I would like to think I can be understood in English. I've been here for quite a long time. Indeed, I've been here longer in the United States than I was in Haiti. And all the aspects of my identity help humanity, help to complement the American community, as well as my own livelihood. In fact, in my own family situation, my parents insisted that I speak to them in French if they spoke to me in French. My father would speak to me in Creole, and I would speak to him in Creole and in English in that sense. Whatever the language they chose to address me, I would have to repeat, answer in return. So there wasn't, at the time, this this danger or this anxiety about just becoming American. My father was rather confident that once I went to school, I mean, I would be dealing with Americans. I'd have to speak English. I'd have to eat apple pie. I'd have to eat hamburgers and do all of that.
Right.
And he was a big man. His thinking was very insistent on being open to different cultures. So I'm not just open to Americans, I'm open to Europeans, of course, to Africans, and because that was that's the mindset that the Haitian person has, actually.
So one question, and we hear it, so often after somebody says Haiti, poorest country in the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah.
In fact, a friend of mine told me, and someone who really got me involved in a mission in Haiti several years ago, said that Mother Teresa says it's the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and she even said it might be worse than Calcutta. I mean, I haven't found that quote, but how do you react to that when that characterization?
I get chills because I have often made the same observation, and I've offered a retort, which is that it might be the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere when we're measuring in terms of capital or economic capital and perhaps size and gross national product and output and things along those lines. However, Haiti and its citizens have been struggling for emancipation, independence, expression, sovereignty for more than 200 years now. And to value the work of that spirit, the individual spirit and the collective spirit, is not something that monetarily can be weighed in a meager way. Indeed, a great deal of richness exists in Haitian spirit, in Haitian character, in Haitian verb, in Haitian humor, despite much difficulties. So it depends on how we're measuring. And in the measurings that I have, I don't see Haiti as a poor country at all. It has been a resistant spirit, even until now, with all of the dangers around it.
I think the problem for me is that I don't think that if somebody says that, Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and to say this isn't a country that was born the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, how did it become, quote unquote, the poorest country?
Well,
and are you saying, not you, but are people that accept that are saying, well, it has something to do with Haitian culture, when we don't look at the forces that help to shape modern Haiti, that are not internal, but external. When you think of some of the modern history of Haiti, and how does art speak to that? How does the voice of poetry speak back to that? To say, you can say that, but here, there is some other reality to this.
Well, before I speak with the connection to art, I appreciate your comment, which is that Haiti had been feeding Europe and the United States for many, in the 19th century, in the 20th century. I mean, spice, in terms of spices, in terms of coffee, and particularly sugar exports, had been tremendous, helped many of those continents develop. And if you can imagine the size of Haiti with its inhabitants affording that on a regular basis year after year, within the same context where this Haitian citizenry had fought for its independence and got it, and in 1804 declared their independence, but especially the United States and superpowers did not recognize it until 1861, much later. And so, and essentially there was an embargo placed on it, so it could not trade the way it should have with other factions in other countries. And so there are artists in Haiti and artists in the States, in Canada certainly, in different parts of the world, who have put their pen to those realities. And they have done so in poetry and song and music and dance as expressions of resistance.
So how do you look at looking at currently your relationship to Haiti? How would you say this is my relationship with Haiti, your relationship with Haiti in the present?
I appreciate that, Charles. It's a bit of a sensitive subject because I have many contemporaries who have seen or who would take the position that Haiti's a lost cause already. And the more we look at the news, the more it doesn't look good. But my heart was always beating for Haiti. In that as long as there's life, as long as there's pulse there, I cannot give up. I have just a side note. My mother has a green thumb, and anything she touches just, really blossoms. Mm-hmm. And I kind of inherited that unintentionally. So even plants that tend to want to die, I want to try to do my best to try to revive them. Uh-huh. And I have that same relationship with anything that is living. We have family in Haiti. And we have friends in Haiti who are still living in Haiti. And there are parts of Haiti, particularly outside of Port-au-Prince, where life can be tolerated, if you will. Mm-hmm. And so long as there's life, I cannot lose hope. Mm-hmm. And I'm very well aware that the situation is quite dire.
Yeah. This is the next thing I wanted to, ask you about, and it's kind of tied in, because you have this wonderful poem with the influence of Giselle Pineau, mm-hmm. and it's a remarkable poem, and the poem is titled according to Giselle Pineau.
Yes.
And I hope you read it, but the beginning part of it as being in where you locate yourself in poetry, mm-hmm. in the most painful, places,
of course.
And have no fear of doing that. So can you talk about that relationship and the influence of Giselle Pineau?
I was blessed to have met Giselle Pineau many years ago, moons ago, 20 years ago or so, at the Yari Yari conference in New York City. It was at NYU, in fact, or the NYU campus. And of course, at that time, there were artists and writers and dancers of all sorts of Black heritage coming from all over the world. And people who were very well known and those who were just emerging artists, had a chance to sit and have tea together and talk together. And I went to Giselle Pineau's panel. She was not the only one there, but maybe it was a Caribbean panel. But I was completely taken with her because when it was the opportunity for her to speak, she also talked about the same struggle that we have at Haiti in terms of languages. Like French has to be dominant and Creole, right. is secondary. But she says that, that she does write or pen Creole in her works or in her life. And she values that. And it was by the work of her grandmother that she came to value that. So it was very important for me to go up and meet her. Long story short, and we had this wonderful time at the conference. Approximately 10 years later, she was invited to give a presentation at the University of Texas at Austin. And when she started her presentation, and it was in French, it was at under the auspices of the Italian and French department there. And when she began, she started, "Il faut aller là où ça fait mal." To be a writer, you must go where it hurts. And then I've had the chance to speak to her since then, and it's been quite wonderful.
You know, after I read her biography, and I've read your, collection, I see you as very much a student, very much a student of Giselle.
Yes, Thank
Pineau.
you.
You know, and this is kind of shifting gears, but it's really not. And I only you didn't give yourself credit for this in the information that I received, but I always do some research on my guests and thank for the internet. But I came upon this project they were involved in called Safe Kids Stories.
Yes. Yeah.
And some of the poetry that was written there, but the one that really, I mean, just the Sun Speaks of Justice, really, I just thought it was such a remarkable poem. Can you talk about Safe Kids Stories?
You know, I am ill-placed to speak about Safe Kids specifically, but it is an outfit in Philadelphia that we were invited, and when we say we, there were a group of students under the auspices or tutelage of Dr. John Lavin, who were who were in his class, essentially, quote unquote, learning to become teachers. They were their next step. They were going to be graduating, and they were going to become teachers. And so we had to do many activities that would be important to learning. Many things that had to do with teachers and student struggles, including, for example, the idea that it's possible to have a group of white American teachers who are placed either by design or by choice or by just a reality in quote-unquote marginalized neighborhoods where most of the students are either black or brown or different from the teacher. And so we were then invited by Safe Kids to contribute poetry that have to do with the idea of teaching and the challenges or the joys and anything having to do with that. I should also mention Miss Lorraine Carey, who is a gym writer in this community, had also come to be a guest speaker in that class and then invited us to contribute our work there.
Well, we don't hear, I do know about a similar project or a program that's been around for quite a while. Maybe I guess you all, Mighty Writers. But some of the things that I read there, and some of the comments, that were available to read about, these poems and other things, I thought it was really like a hidden gem. Why don't we know more about it? I would really like to know more about it, and I think we need to discuss with John and Larry how we can, bring that out. I would, in future programming, I would love to see how we could intersect with that. The other thing is, and it was not in what I read, but you have your work in a jazz anthology, and can you talk about that? Your not only relationship to that, meaning in that collection, but your relationship to jazz music, and maybe even say, well, this is also my relationship with Haitian art, because I see Haitian art as so, I'm talking about painting and sculpture, as so uniquely Haitian, and such a authentic representation of the Haitian experience, and even when I read some of your poems, I see that a real intersection, of that also. So can you speak to that relationship you have and you've developed?
So I've made reference to the Austin Project in our opening comments. But I should, before saying that, I should say that I consider myself a multiple disciplinary artist. Indeed, I think, because in fact before I was writing, I was a dancer, I was a singer, or was or is, and actually even after starting to write more religiously, I also started doing visual art, painting.
Okay.
And I felt that it was an interesting conversation between those, all of those art forms. Indeed, my position is that one's art form could become that much more focused, astute, refined if he or she is engaged in another art form as well. There's a conversation that is had. So a dancer, you know, can paint, a musician can write, and a performer can do sculpting. There's, I think, an important conversation that happens and that complements all of the art forms that an individual is blessed or invited to do. By the time, in jazz music, I came to know jazz music. I had the opportunity, when I lived in New York, and I used to work downtown. And I knew, I was about 16, 18 at the time, and I knew little or nothing about jazz music. My parents, who lived in Manhattan when they first got to the United States, would go to Harlem every Friday to listen to the music there.
Wow.
And they would talk about that, and I wanted to know more. And so I would go after work or when the jazz music was there at Midtown to listen to the music. But it was, again, rather naive. Can't recall really anybody introducing the music. It was there for connoisseurs, but I loved it. Mm-hmm. I loved the cadence. I loved the spontaneity. I thought it was astounding that the music was being made right in the moment. And so many of these precepts are those that Dr. Jones and Ms. Sharon Bridgeforth wanted to use in writing. The idea of spontaneity, the idea of having the body speak in order to produce community, the idea of interrelationship, the idea of very important to listen, very important. Your note is not more important or less important than you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, one of the things I you know, and as I was reading your poem, I said that you are really having a conversation. You are really having a conversation. And I don't mean kind of conversation that's preaching to people, but you really are having a conversation. You're letting people in.
I hope
so. and have access. And, you know, one of the great struggles I have with some poetry is that I know there's something there, but I don't think somebody's having a conversation with me. They might be having a conversation with a different level of the poetry community or a certain level of community, but I don't feel that conversation with me. With your poems, I really felt you're having a conversation with me.
I was talking to you, Charles.
Yeah, and you're talking to whoever's reading this, right. And there's an immediacy and importance, you know, to what you're saying. It's I'll use the word necessary in what you're saying. So, and I really enjoyed that. And what other the part I enjoyed is pretty much the brevity of your poems. Yes. I mean, as far as structurally speaking, that it's it's not overdone. I'm one who believes in that kind of compact, poems that really get in and get out. Yes. And say what they have to say. Right. I'm not saying that people that have poems that are in 6, 7 parts, that's not good poetry, but the immediacy of what I read, and with a lot of poets, I really appreciate that. I'm really appreciating your poem. Right. So we're talking about poetry, and we're talking about your poetry, and I think this has been a wonderful conversation. I think we could go on for another half an hour or more, right. But people want to hear you read your poems and that they can have an experience of your poem. So I'm going to give the floor to you. and I really look forward to hearing your poems read by you.
Okay, very well then. Charles Carr, you've been a gem. Thank you so much for your invitation. I must say that I'm deeply humbled and honored to be here, particularly that you've given me free rein to do and say whatever it is that is on my heart and mind, and I really appreciate that. And I say that particularly because I feel as if you know, I normally don't get an invitation like that. It's normally just come and read or so, or do, or listen, or answer the question. But I feel as if I'm here, and then the poems are here, so I'm really here for them. So I have to be very gingerly and be of service. I just wanted to share this, the book,
Absolutely.
Experiments in the Jazz Aesthetic, to which some of these poems were contributed. And you are absolutely right in terms of the idea of brevity, because when I first joined the group, I really had wanted to write essays and not, you know, short stories, and I have written some, but most of the group were writing poems, and I was taken with the idea of having an entire story placed within an economy of a set amount of space. So I've enjoyed that and enjoyed the discipline of doing that. Okay, so let me read from according to Gisèle Pineau, then the poem you like. According to Gisèle Pineau, il faut aller là où ça fait mal, she says. To write well, to bother to write, go where it hurts. Et s'il fait mal partout, stay there where it hurts, even if it hurts everywhere, until the curfew of sensibility is lifted and lessons learned with crystal clarity burn and burst with brilliant light, pierce your soul in your pen. Et s'il fait mal tout le temps, apprivoise la douleur autant que la joie. Apprends la valeur du bonheur. Apprends la peine des oiseaux sans ailes, des orphelins le jour de Noël, la sagesse des pauvres. Let pain visit you as much as joy, for as long as you need to learn the purpose and rhythm of living, in the crooning of doves, in the naked dance of a liberated woman, the acrid emotion of a lover scorned, in the hues of blood in the camps of war, the value of innocence to a man condemned. Apprivoise la douleur qui vient des écrits des femmes noires, à savoir les raisons qu'elles soulèvent et déposent leurs plumes. Befriend your pain, befriend your joy, until you know the reasons you were born black and woman, to write, to love.
I especially like, I mentioned before, that part about befriend your pain.
Yeah.
And I mean, there could be an extended discussion of, well, what does that mean? And what is that relationship like in befriending your pain? Because we've all experienced, and so where do you go really in your mind and your soul to be there, you know, in that moment of that pain? So I think as a poem, it's such, you know, it's really beckoning people, poets, whatever, to really deal with that. And the larger pain that we're feeling, you know, in the world right now, is to deal with that.
All of our emotions are a part of us. We cannot, you know, squibble, is that the word? I don't know if that's the word, but, you know, run away from our emotions. And they will not cease, just like, you know, demanding children, until they are addressed. And when they are addressed, it's easier. The next pain is lighter. The next pain is light, until at some point that pain is no longer perceived as a pain.
Right.
This is very much a character sketch of my grandmother. Mon Eva's civility. When you arrive at my grandmother's door, daughter or pauper, prince or shoemaker, whether she knew whose child you were, or whether your sojourn had been free from the corner hill, or across the distant gushing river, her first inquiry would be whether you had already eaten, and even if you had, whether you liked sauce with your meal, or pickles on the side, whether you liked your beans contained or running over rice. She'd insist on the plantains. Then she would ask you your name. There's always so much pain in this, in matters associated with Haiti. I wanted to share this poem to talk about, Sunday dinner. The children of revolution gather. Aromas of savory seasonings lure our senses to the dishes christened with the salty sweat of former slaves and revolutionary heroes' progeny, just as the church bell tolled 12 noon. Dark hands adorn the colors of abundance over a mahogany table draped in embroidered white. The family gathers to tradition their daily communion of cultural provisions made with the ingredients garnered from a land tumultuous with spice. They came to imbibe ritual, where mère, maman, and papa, big brother, and petite sœur squeeze a place for auntie and her full half-sisters, the country cousins, and the uncle no one understands. We begin with the ceremonial blessing by thanking the one and those who fruit fortitude to our tasks. An elder pours a little water on the ground to honor the spirits among us. The procession of platters passes through our respective settings. First, the elder women, then the elder men are served. Then the adult men, and then the women select their portions in diminishing age rank. The male head of household receives his regal meal. The children are rewarded for their patience. And finally, the mother, who's often the cook, gets the best of the lesser remains. We toss each other a bon appétit and indulge in the silence of appreciation. The menu begins with the sustaining meat, a tender goat, a lemony chicken, or a wild herb pigeon, a griot, a good tasso or lambi perhaps, marinated with onions and garlic and thyme. Then the plantains, often green, to suppress gas, are either boiled or fried as fritaille for a delectable crisp and soft treat. But sometimes the plantains are yellow and sweet, a culinary prize among the younger ones. Then the beets and the carrots and the greens parade as the ritual unfolds its course. Amidst laughter and bantering and plenty of politicking, amidst weather reports and wedding news and livestock discussions, we seal the meal with the sacred rice and beans, served with the pepper-hot version of the day's meat sauce. For libations, we drink cola champagne or couronne, equally sweet to the heart as to the tongue. And for dessert, there are the meal's second helpings and the stomachs of the children rejoicing. Mm.
I love poems that include food.
I think you told me that.
Not so much that the food becomes, a way to project so much, other than recipes and ingredients. Yeah. There's so much outside of that, like in your poem, in terms of like a family gathering, yes, or emotion, in food that has by itself. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Very, very much.
Thank you. I will share this. This is one of the poems that was written during my Austin project experience. It was the very first poem. My mentor kind of chided me. She said, because I was not writing, I was waiting for the moment waiting for the right words, and she just looked at me and she says, you know, your ancestors are very angry with you. They will curse you for not writing. I think that very day I went home and I wrote this.
Okay.
Social Security. Shame dragged her into the woods for the cleaning of a family wound, her heart thumping, beating like doves in a pot on fire. Her legs lead heavy, being dragged to her social reckoning. They held her down. They pulled out the baby, pieces from the womb of her 7 months making. She lay there despondent, disbanded from the only Social Security, tender comfort promise of her sunset years. A tear, longer than the braids on her bedlam head, longer than the Nile of its source, dropped to quench the ground in prayerful offering for the young one's safe return to the spirits. Let's see. Move along. Oops, I think I missed one. This is like the Haitian mother's mantra. She doesn't compare herself to other mothers. Home training. Now you tell me if I am right, if I am wrong. My daughter tell me she don't want to make bed anymore. Don't want to wash dishes, don't need to dust. Or Sally Harrington tell her she don't make her bed because bed is domestic work. I tell her, Sally Harrington speak English. Sally Harrington white. She don't have to do anything. Don't have to say she's sorry. Don't have to relieve the world debt. Sally Harrington has 3 parents. She don't have to work day job and night job. Don't have to pay taxes, pay your school, cook your dinner. La devineuse. She is a seeing woman, piercing clairvoyant pool with eyes of the spirits within her. Speaks in tongues of ancestral visions to voice predictions to come. She moves undisturbed like time, smiles at the children laughing, laughs at the people crying, lives beyond her touch. Her body is a vessel cleansed for visitors, tending services to lost souls. She can offer you gold. She can find you a lover, then set your lifetime path in your eyes. Cross her. She can snuff your breath without your feeling the pinch, cut you without a knife. Okay, this is a different short poem, different version, different moment. Breath steps. The most death-defying moment in the death-defying walk a woman takes from the threshold of her house when the nuptials are on the kitchen table and the children in the car, engine running. Meeting at the crossroads. Bonsoir, Monsieur Aubin. Good evening to you, sir. Such a cool evening. Such a young night. Luck and mischief meeting under the stars' delight. Guile and chance crafting to test each other's might. Gijon, Monsieur Aubin. And what tales are we devising under the full moon's sight? What totem will you take? What souls will you awaken for your sheer delight? Monsieur Aubin, I don't know whether you're coming or going, but I do see your pants slipping and your zipper down and loose, belt buckle pointing the way while you hop from tree to tree. I don't know whether you're coming or going in your black and white cordials, but I'll tell you this in a whisper outright. If you don't mind my business, I won't mind yours. This is a bit of work with voice and, again, seeking other voices. What is the word or the story of the other voice, of the other person? This is a more American poem. New Urban Shuffle. What do you want me to do? Where do you want me to go with that stick you're pointing at me? To go and to get out of here. Keep moving. I just came from the shelter where your boys wanted to pimp me, and I said no. So they stole all my money and took my shoes with them. So I've got nowhere to go except to look for a home in the streets, made a bed in this grate, since it's so cold out here, because I needed some warmth, so I could feel my feet again. My family don't want to have nothing to do with me, because they're ashamed. They're ashamed I didn't keep the family name. And they told my daughter I died in the war, which I didn't appreciate, since I'm a pacifist and refused to go to war. So they threw me in jail on account of dodging the draft. No, hold on, put your stick away. The other one too, blocking your brain. I got to pack my cardboard. It don't come easy in these streets. When they threw me out of jail, there was nothing for me to do. The food stamps I got hardly gave me any food, and the welfare they gave me didn't fare so well. So I went to apply for a job, but they wanted an address and a phone number where they can reach me, and I don't have a jack in this cardboard. So I had to make do. I had to find a place to stay, some place to spend the day. Don't come on, Mr. Me. I bet you got a home, but you ain't got no mother, because a mother couldn't have raised you to be so rude. So you can come around here harassing me to to make me, to have me keep moving, to go where?
Wow.
So we'll see how much time I have for news at 11. There was an oil spill at the lake today. How many mothers will lose their milk? How many children their eyesight? There was an explosion in the mines today. How many men will lose breath? How many daughters raise themselves? There was a shooting at the school today. How many students will lose their lives over 2-bit sneakers? How many teachers remain ignorant? There was a leak in the plant today. How many women, protecting corporate profits, offer their wombs to industrial waste? How many unwanted immigrants denied land space to exist? How many government buildings need to be bombed with guilty victims in their bellies who know not their complicity to crime? How many trade centers need to fall before we collect the limbs of our genocide, soaked in blood and human suffering, widespread with violent imperialism on home and foreign land, before the gatekeepers of commercial interests nationally secure borders with arms of respect rather than fire made to ignite? How frequent the signs and the warnings?
Well, so this has been great. Well, I'm going to have to stop here, but I wanted to ask you, where are you going from here? Now, I know you're going home, but with your poetry, what is your plan?
The land of emotions and need for healing is still distressingly very fertile. And so on some level, it will be more of the same, I suspect that my writing evolves in some respects. Like I'm telling you, one of the things that came to mind just recently was the idea of the silenced places of those who are either privileged or well-to-do, or who look like they're doing well, but they have to have a posterior of, meanwhile, they need community so that they could understand the marginalized better, interestingly.
The poem you read of the homeless person, that's kind of what I'm talking about. That, how you give voice to that. And, it's a very painful thing in Philadelphia, the extent to which we have to, experience the pain of so many people that are homeless and, really in a way without hope, but still surviving. And so I was very, very, very touched, but that you gave voice, and the way you gave voice, to that. So I'm so grateful.
Thank you
for
so
your
much.
accepting our invitation to be our guest tonight. I really appreciate it. The experience of reading your poems, and I want to continue to see more of your poems, and I hope you invite me to these other events that you're part of, and that we can give voice to that also. So I really appreciated that tonight. And I really appreciate everything that PhillyCAM did to make this happen, because here we're back in the studio where we started from, and that was, that's just wonderful. I'm very appreciative of everything that Sergio Giuliano did to make this happen, and a good friend, a former colleague of mine, who came in and volunteered tonight to technically make it. That's Donald Butler. I go back a long time with him, but I really appreciate that, he gave up his time to come in and do this and make this, wonderful program happen. And I love the way they set up the studio tonight. So
beautiful.
The other thing, as I always do, is this program is not possible without the Moonstone Arts Center. It's not possible without the dedication and the commitment that Larry Robbins has made to it, and made to so much else. I mean, I always say this, is that Larry is a true cultural hero in this city. The culture that he's, made thrive. Tonight, for example, we mentioned this is one anthology, Poetry Inc. that's done every year. But Larry is doing so many other anthologies that are addressing what is happening in America and what's happening in the world. And so I only say that to ask the people that are watching that we need your support. So you can go to our website, which is moonstoneartscenter.org, and see a way you can support us. And there's many ways you can do that. But it's really important to keep this work, continuing. So thank you very much for tuning in tonight. I think it was a really great show, and I think it's a special gift to finally have an Asian American poet, which I've wanted to do for so long, on Philly Loves Poetry. So I'll see you next month on November the 4th, and it'll be a wonderful program.
Happy 100th.
And 100th broadcast here tonight. So it's really been a great run.
Thank you so much.